What would you do if the life you built crumbled in a single moment? Molly Grant, an innocent accountant, is framed for a multimillion-dollar Forex scam, forcing her to run from the law and a shadowy network that will stop at nothing to silence her. In the dead of night, hiding in an abandoned cabin, she hears whispers outside and footsteps closing in. Who or what is hunting her? With every clue she uncovers, the danger grows, leading to a chilling confrontation that will leave you gasping. Will Molly clear her name, or will the shadows consume her? Molly Grant's day began like any other. She sipped her coffee, looked out her apartment window in downtown Houston, and prepared for another long day at the accounting firm. Molly loved numbers. They made sense when nothing else did. But this was not a day like any other. This was the day her entire life fell apart. As she walked into the office, her phone buzzed with a message from her boss, Mr. Patterson. It was strange. He never texted her directly. "Come to my office immediately," it read. Her stomach tightened. Had she made a mistake on a client's account? When she entered his office, the air felt heavy. Patterson wasn't alone. Two men in dark suits stood beside him. They introduced themselves as federal agents. Molly's heart raced as they started asking questions about transactions she didn't recognize. Numbers flowed in her head, millions of dollars, accounts she never accessed, deals she never made. "You've been moving funds through offshore accounts using a Forex scheme," one agent said, sliding a folder across the desk. Inside were copies of wire transfers, all bearing her signature. "This isn't mine," she stammered, her voice trembling. But their expressions didn't waver. They handed her a warrant for her arrest. As they reached for her wrists, something in Molly snapped. Her fight-or-flight response kicked in. "I didn't do this," she screamed. She bolted out of the office, pushing past confused coworkers. Outside, she jumped into her car and sped off. The city blurred as tears streamed down her face. She had no plan, just a desperate need to get away. Molly drove through the night, stopping only when her gas tank demanded it. She found herself in a small, sleepy town called Fairview. The town was quiet, almost unnervingly so. She checked into a shabby motel, using a fake name. As she lay on the scratchy bed, the horror of her situation sank in. Someone had framed her. But who? And why? The next morning, Molly decided to investigate. She logged into her laptop cautiously, wary of being tracked. Her fingers trembled as she accessed the company's Forex trading accounts. She found a trail of transactions leading to an anonymous account in the Cayman Islands. Her mind raced. She didn't know much about Forex, but the amounts were staggering. Millions funneled through cleverly disguised trades. Suddenly, the motel door creaked open. Molly froze. A shadow moved across the room. She grabbed a lamp and swung it wildly as the figure stepped into the light. "Whoa, easy," said a young man, hands raised. "I'm Ethan. I work here." Molly's heart pounded as she lowered the lamp. Ethan explained he was the motel clerk and noticed she looked out of sorts. Despite her fear, Molly sensed he meant no harm. She decided to trust him, at least partially. "Someone's trying to destroy me," she admitted. Ethan's brow furrowed, and he offered to help. The two spent days piecing together the puzzle. Ethan had a knack for hacking, and together they uncovered disturbing truths. The anonymous account was tied to someone at her firm, her boss, Patterson. "It's a classic setup," Ethan said, scrolling through pages of data. "They needed someone to take the fall. You were perfect, smart but not powerful enough to fight back." Just as Molly felt a glimmer of hope, the motel's phone rang. Ethan answered, his face draining of color as he handed the receiver to Molly. "Miss Grant," a chilling voice said. "Stop digging, or you won't live to see the trial." Molly dropped the phone, her breathing ragged. They packed their things and fled into the night, paranoia gnawing at them. Every car on the highway felt like a threat, every shadow an agent of the mysterious voice. They found refuge in an abandoned cabin in the woods outside Fairview. But the nights were far from restful. Strange noises echoed in the darkness, footsteps crunching leaves, whispers carried by the wind. Ethan brushed it off as paranoia, but Molly wasn't so sure. One night, as she reviewed more financial records, the power flickered. The cabin plunged into darkness. "Ethan," she called out, but there was no answer. Her pulse quickened as she grabbed a flashlight. The beam of light cut through the darkness, landing on a figure standing in the corner of the room. It wasn't Ethan. The man lunged, and Molly screamed. She swung her laptop at him, catching him off guard. Ethan burst through the door, wielding a heavy wrench. Together, They overpowered the intruder, who escaped into the woods. What the hell was that? Ethan panted. They're after me, Molly whispered. They'll stop at nothing. With the intruder gone, Molly knew their time at the cabin was up. They hit the road again, heading toward New Orleans, where a cybersecurity expert named Lily could help them. Lily was a tough, no-nonsense woman with a soft spot for the underdog. She confirmed what Molly feared. Patterson wasn't working alone. The scheme was part of a larger criminal network involving politicians, law enforcement, and international traders. This goes deep, Lily warned. If you want to clear your name, you'll have to expose them all. But it won't be easy. They've got eyes everywhere. As Molly, Ethan, and Lily plotted their next move, the horror escalated. Their car was run off the road by a black SUV. A note was left on the dashboard. This is your final warning. Molly was terrified, but she refused to give up. With Lily's help, they hacked into a secure server, finding damning evidence that could bring down the entire network. But before they could act, Lily's apartment was raided. Molly and Ethan barely escaped. Now fugitives, they turned to the media, risking everything to expose the truth. Molly's emotional plea aired nationwide, sparking outrage and forcing the FBI to take action. The final showdown came when Patterson confronted Molly in a dark alley. He offered her a deal: disappear forever, and he'd make the charges go away. You can't run forever, he sneered. But Molly had a recording device hidden in her pocket. She smiled through her fear. You're right, I can't. But neither can you. The recording went viral, and the authorities dismantled the network. Patterson and his accomplices were arrested, but Molly's life was forever changed. She was no longer just an accountant. She was a survivor, a fighter, and she would never let anyone steal her story again. Share your thoughts on this story in the comments section, and do not forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more updates on this story and more.